This is Demin. You're listening to the Paradise Arcade.
The Paradise Arcade contains graphic language. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to the Paradise Arcade with Kyle and Eric, promoting Synthwave, music, and culture.
Welcome to another episode of the Paradise Arcade this week. We have a very mysterious, special guest, someone who is so hard to track down. I had to go through a second party to get a hold of you. Welcome to the show, Demin.
Thanks for having me.
It was a while. It was a bit of a trek to get you. So thank you for coming on and letting your people talk to our people. And
I had to, let management sort it out. All the big guys at the top.
Really appreciate that. Thank you for gracing us with this time. Because when we discovered you, Kyle and I have this thing where like, one of us will hear something, and then it's like, you need to check this shit out. Like, this is the hot shit. Like, it's something that like we both look at each other and go, we acknowledge that like this is something special. And when I think you, Kyle, sent me a link to Initiate, and is like, you were like, this is the hot shit.
Yes.
And this also may or may not be a Com Truise secret side project. And when I heard it, I'm like, yes, this is the hot shit. And I love that feeling. I love that sense of discovery with music, and that could still be done. And that's why I like retro electronic, whatever you want to call yourself. Let that be you. So let's talk about Demin. How did that project get going?
Yeah, I also want to say it's really cool that my music had that impact at all. I think it's really cool to hear that. Like, as long as it impacts one person, that's cool. But two people in this case, that's awesome. So yeah, I started out making music in 2011. Of course, it was like, I wouldn't call it music now. It was Pirate FL Studio. Try to make something. It sounds terrible. Do that for like, I think I did it for 3 months or 6 months. I Googled what DAW Deadmau5 used. Saw it was Ableton. Switched to Ableton. Never looked back. But yeah, I started out making progressive house and electro house, dance stuff. And that was okay. I'd say it's probably, looking back, it was probably uninspired. And then I heard Com Truise in 2014, 2013. So I think I was using, it was so long ago, it was like Pandora. It wasn't Spotify. And his remix of Awake by Tycho was like, it showed up in the shuffle play. And I'd never heard anything like it. It just clicked with me instantly. It was one of those. And I was like, I want to make music like that instead. And I did. I made, I just experimented with something. I don't know if it ever saw the light. I think it did. Yeah, I think it got released on some obscure stuff. But somehow I turned it into an album, put that album out on SoundCloud under, it actually, what became of Initiate was like, it was called Order, which is one of the tracks on there. It was really messy. Like, it was just thrown together. And so I deleted it. I think I added a couple songs, really re-released it as Initiate. And that one took off.
It's hot. It's a hot album. We were actually DJing for the Makeup and Vanity set show that we hosted in Minnesota. And we played Hurt in between the live sets for people to hear. It was great.
What do they think of it? Do they hate it?
No, people are jamming. It was interesting. That concert was interesting because like there were some people that had never been to a Synthwave show before. There's some younger people there, and so there was like one like super cyber goth kid dancing like really hard to it, like those meme videos of like the cyber goths dancing.
Yeah, the ones under the bridge and stuff.
Yeah, like that, but it was one person.
That's awesome.
And then there was someone. They called it spinning. They had like these orbs on a glowing orb on a rope, and they were like,
yo-yo almost.
yeah, flinging it around and shit.
Sweet.
Yeah, so people are jamming to it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I've never gotten to hear my music in a live setting. I would just imagine it sounds bad because I've never heard it in a live setting, so I don't know how to like account for that. But
Nah,
yeah,
I blasted
it
it.
works.
It sounded good.
Yeah,
Sweet, sweet.
yeah, it went over well, and it fit really well with the motif of the overall show. So I think
That's good.
people were jamming on it. So that's how it's interesting. So that's how Initiate came into being. It was sort of a false start and then
Yeah,
re-release.
it almost shouldn't have existed. You know, it was like I put it out as on SoundCloud under that different name and different album art and everything, and I was like, this just sucks. It just didn't sit right with me. I was like, man, this doesn't feel right. And then I don't know if I like had I think I might have just deleted it out of shame. I don't know what it was. I might have just not had a plan, but yeah, I think it was only like 5 songs, and then I had some other songs, and yeah, re-slapped it together. It made more sense too. The idea of like I like the in the Initiate the bookends of like Meltify and Liquefy, because at first I think one of those tracks was called Liquefy and Melt. That was stupid, so just split them apart.
That was dumb. I fixed it.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
That's awesome. And then yeah, so that took off. You actually were able to get that released on cassette. So I'm not sure if there's any left of those through Polycora, but if there is, get it. You're stupid if you don't buy it.
Yeah, there's no way for me to check how many are left, so I can't like tell people, hey, you only got 2 left. Go get them.
I think
I might be able to fact check that right now.
Yeah, get that info because that's important to know. So
Yeah, I never went out of my way to do that. I think Polycora, he was like, hey, I want to put your stuff on cassette. Sure. What do I have to sign?
not much. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm happy that that's a physical release. Now, is it a dream perhaps to get something on vinyl? Are you?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Although I'd like after that cassette released, I was like, man, that's kind of cool because I got to get one obviously, and it's like I'm holding something I made. It's physically on like magnetic tape.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make something that's worthy of being put on vinyl, which is a tall order for myself, but maybe I already have. Maybe some people already think I have made something worth being on vinyl.
I think so. I think Initiate deserves to be on vinyl.
Delicious pink.
Oh yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah, I have a vinyl collection of my own. It's not like big or anything, but I it's something that I hold with reverence, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too like weird about it, but it's like I don't know. It's magic.
We get real weird about it.
Yeah.
Good. I won't feel out of place. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's our collections are shamefully large, especially with
That's
like
good.
synthwave shit.
And like that's
Well,
how I
maybe you
like
can,
to consume it.
Yeah. Yeah, sitting down with the record, physically engaging with the music itself.
It's different. It's different. I swear. I have Pretty Hate Machine, 9 Inch Nails on vinyl, and what's funny about that is I listened to it on Spotify a few years before I had bought it on vinyl. On Spotify, I was like, this song blows. This sucks. This sucks. I didn't care for it. But when I bought it on vinyl and I forgot all about it, when I listened to it on vinyl, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
It clicked, and it's my favorite record of all time.
I think Trent Reznor especially gets this. The mastering is different with vinyl, and what I like about his remixes of his albums or remastering is that he brings in different elements and masters it for that format. So you're going to get a slightly different experience depending on what you're listening to, and he takes that care.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I also have Pretty Hate Machine on vinyl. I have a lot of his early stuff on vinyl. So it sounds different. It really does. If you off of Spotify or if you've got like a WAV file or whatever it is, like they all sound a little bit different. You hear different elements. There's certain things that come in that you just don't notice. And so I like how that's different. It's a different experience. Vinyl has a very specific experience because it has to be mastered in a particular way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I'll start listening. Like I want to listen to Pretty Hate Machine. I'll go on Spotify, start, like, man, this sucks, and I'll restart on vinyl. I'll go put it on the player, and it's so much better. I'll listen to the whole thing front to back.
See, that's how it gets you. You got to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
invested in it. You're experiencing it as a whole. You can't just be like fast forward, fast forward, fast forward.
Oh yeah, no, I totally see value. People like they talk about that, but that really does, like, I don't want to say force. That makes it sound like menacing. It kind of forces you to appreciate each song and stuff. I don't know. I think I tended to like each song individually more at the end of the record because, like you said, you can't just fast forward and skip through the boring parts. You come to appreciate every second of the song.
Yeah, I was just going to say it facilitates a higher appreciation of the product as a whole.
Yeah.
It's definitely a way to put it. Yeah, elegant.
Yeah. Another way to spin that is that
Oh,
it's
this is
a
nice pun.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Woo. Is that if a musician or artist creates a story, a sonic story, it forces you to take that journey. And if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
in the fast forward culture, skip, you don't ever get
You're not
that.
gonna know what's going on. You'll be
And
confused.
exactly, and you're able to get the whole experience of the record, especially if the artist is a album quote artist as opposed to single
Yeah.
artist.
The only other form of media that I can say worked the same way as listening to like a physical record front to back would be Daft Punk's Interstellar 5555. Because
Yeah.
there you have a movie basically made to every track of the entire album as it goes.
Mhm.
That'll help you appreciate it more. Kind of like listening to a record. And that's the only other thing that I can think of that would work the same way as listening to a vinyl record.
Yeah.
For sure.
I really need to watch that. I love Daft Punk, and I have a friend that's a huge fan of them, and they can help me become a bigger fan. And I watched what's the one where they become human? The movie they made.
That's Interstellar. Yeah, 5.
No, it's Electroma. Electroma. I'm thinking of that.
Oh, okay. Something different.
That one wasn't obviously as musical. I still liked it, but yeah, that's a good point though. If you literally have a visual element,
It
goes
engages
along
you,
with the
yes.
music. Yeah.
It forces you to sit your ass down and engage with it. That we're like listening, you can get up and you can do other stuff. And so
Yeah.
visual media is interesting in the sense that you can't do anything other than sit down and watch the thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, and we talked about this a little bit pre-show, and I joked, obviously, is that people think that Demin is a Com Truise secret side project. And we obviously went into depth about it, but I'd like to readdress it because I think there's some people out there that I'd be very curious about. Because I was talking to one of my friends. I'm like, we're interviewing Demin, and they're like, holy shit! Please tell me if it's Seth or not. And that's both. You seem to really struggle with that. But we thought of it as kind of at the end of the day, a compliment. Where do you see like do you see where people could think that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's if you're taking what the average listener says, you can't really trust them wholesale because they don't know, like, they don't know how to make a song. Not that their input isn't important, but they're not going to know, like, oh, this synth is completely different from this synth, and this sample pack is like nowhere near that sample pack, and this that. Like, they're not going to know that. They don't pick up on the tiny things that maybe a producer would, and even if they do, it's like you can't always trust that. So I guess I should take it as a compliment. Yeah, I should take it as a compliment.
I think the things that the people that say to me that remind that like this has to be Seth is like your drum programming is really tight and has like very similar like snare progressions, and that's what kind of Seth is known for is because I think he used to be hip hop producer back in the day.
Yeah.
And So there's that element of those lively drums, and drums are really hard to program because it's a
Oh God, yeah,
machine, right? So
yeah.
to have a lively drum mix that sounds, it's synthetic, but it will sounds alive, like someone's actually playing
Mm.
it. That's a hard thing to do, and so I think in some ways people go, well, that's really impressive. It must be Seth because he's so talented.
Yeah, and I mean that's something I've always struggled. Drums have been like the bane of my existence, even when I wasn't making synthwave or like non 4/4, especially in 4/4 like house music. It's you have to do a balancing act more than like hip hop style beats. I never like I said, when I started making music in this style, I didn't like take in a VHS X and like put my kicks where his kicks are, and or and I don't use a drum machine either. It's all just inside Ableton, virtually. Like you know, I will say like this, like you were saying with the snare progressions, that's definitely an inspiration from him and maybe a couple other people. But yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard getting them to sound punchy, not muddy, fat but not too fat is just brutally hard. But maybe I'm okay at it now after 5 years of it.
That's exactly how I like my girls.
Fat but not too fat.
Punchy, but not too punchy.
Yeah. Punchy. Oh, okay. I went with the wrong one. I went with a really, really bad one.
No, it was
it's-
both. It was
It's
both.
both. It was both.
Okay, okay, good.
Yeah, I hear that. It's so that's it's really it's interesting, and we talked about obviously like I had sent it to some friends out who were like just absolutely convinced that it was a Seth side project. So I think it's cool to be compared to Seth, and I think there's enough of a differentiator to be like this isn't because if you use certain tools, it it's easy to say well it must be that person. But
Yeah, and I
since
appreciate that you can differentiate it to it. Like you see that in a way that it's not just a carbon copy. Because like I said earlier, if you wanted to do an actual carbon copy, it would be so brutally difficult. You wouldn't get anything done. And
When you said that earlier, I got really sad because the first thing that came to my mind is there's never going to be another Sandstorm.
oh, I know, right? Maybe, maybe I'll make it. I think I dabbled with that.
Okay, all right. Now we're talking.
all right.
I actually do like trance and stuff like that. Like I was talking about earlier with old '90s. There's this record I recently got on vinyl. It's Black Forest by what's his name? I forgot his name already. Snyder, I think Daniel Snyder. Whatever. It's this really awesome trance track with these plucks that I tried recreating them. It's not possible. Like I think it must have been. He might have been using like a that synthesizer that I could never afford. That's probably what it was. Yeah, a synthesizer I couldn't afford.
That
But
if I were to say that, that'd be many of.
yeah, yeah,
Most.
yeah. Oh, wait, that's another thing too. A lot of people think like they always call me like something analog. Like this guy's like one of the analog lords. Like he's. I own two synthesizers. One of them is analog. I own a MS-20 Mini and a Volca FM, the digital like Yamaha DX7 thing. Never ever used like a Moog for my stuff or Oberheim, anything like that. So that's another way like you can see that the average listener isn't going to know the difference between a soft synth and a hard synth.
Yeah, I would never know.
Yeah.
And are we talking about Buchla? Is that it? That's an expensive one, right?
That's modular synth.
I would love a Buchla though.
So yeah, there's
I'd love.
the Moog
Yeah.
synths, which are like all the self-contained shit, and you got the knobs, and then there's modular where you plug in all these cables, and it just shit happens.
I love making pasta.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's all those
Yeah.
cables gone.
yeah. You're making
That's
pasta.
the real money dump. That's the I gotta get this next module. I gotta get the new module that's out. That's what that is. Yeah.
It's interesting though. So clearly you use then synth sample packs and maybe not go so far outside of a synth sound that people still think you're tweaking on an actual synth.
Yeah, that might be it. I mean, in terms of samples, it's mostly drums. Lately, I used to be really like aggressive about that against myself, like never use presets, never use these one-shot synth sounds. And I said fuck that a long time ago, and well, a few years ago now. It's just like you have a limited amount of time on the planet. You shouldn't be making everything from scratch. like reinventing the wheel. If there's a preset that sounds good, just use it. That's what a lot of my songs involve, or some really nice pad presets and stuff.
Yeah, it's. I think having us, and I'm probably going to get hate for this sentiment, but I think if you have a good solid bass and you just tweak the bass, it's all good. Why do you need to?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you need to go through the agony of programming something from scratch? Like looking at the different waveforms and going, like, oh, I'll mix these things, create the sound.
Yeah.
Life is pain, embrace it.
No.
Yeah, there might be times when you want a specific sound, and if you're good at synthesis enough, which I don't know if I'm still at that point yet, where I know I need this, I need to mix it with this wavetable and to get that. But the average, again, with the average listener, they're not going to go and download this synth and go through all the presets. Aha, I found you, fucker. Use this one.
I found you. I found you out.
Which I have done. I've found presets that people have used, and it's pretty fun. But I can't tell anybody. I'll tell. Like I used to have lots of producer friends who'd be like, "Check this out. This is that sample." Like, I don't give a shit. I was excited by it.
I think.
I know it. I know.
Well, it makes it feel more like it makes them feel less. Makes them feel more human. It's like I can touch you. Like you're the same as me. You used a preset, so you're not actually this god that I would never be able to compare to. It's like, oh, you used a preset.
But you got to use it right. You can't just.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I would
Otherwise it'll sound bad.
because here's the thing, we discussed this earlier, because you listened to some other episodes and it's come up for a few people, is it doesn't matter what tool you use, it's how you use the tool. So we could be proved totally wrong. Some motherfucker could just use all presets and barely do jack shit with them and make them sound like $1 million.
That's happened already, I think, with like Big Room House and stuff. Like a lot of that big electronic music that was the craze in 2015 or something.
I was already well into synthwave, so I don't know what that is.
It was a big meme in the electronic, like in the EDM scene. But yeah,
As soon as I saw like Skrillex and that, I kind of was like, this is exciting for me.
yeah, that's understandable. But yeah, no, it does not matter what tool you use at all. Like I said, you could use Audacity. You could write the ones and zeros yourself. Like look at old like the Donkey Kong soundtrack for the SNES, I think. David Weiss, the stuff he did for that game. Like people love these songs, but they were painstakingly like almost made by hand in that archaic software. So you could do great things with. And actually, obviously, I would say that the limitations, I almost want to impose more limitations on myself, because then you get more creativity.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think when you get rid of some of the noise, it allows you to really focus on what you have. And so it's an interesting way to challenge yourself and to do different things that unlock just different potential of what you could do, and a way to force yourself into a different mindset, especially if you feel like you've got writer's block. I think that's a really fun thing to do. It's like, here are my 3 colors. That's it. Now go to town.
I've thought about that lately because I've been having severe, like the last release, it was the end of 2019, the last proper release. And I thought about things where like, I'll do a project where I don't use any sample or any sequencing, do it all like recording all the drums, everything by hand with the keyboard, or, other MIDI devices and stuff like that, or only use 16 channels. Like the demo version of Ableton, you can only use 16 MIDI or audio channels. Something like that. Like, it would probably work, but it'd be a pain in the ass.
Why not? It's a challenge. Do it. You could be surprised. Again, It's like when Com Truise made Galactic Melt. The weird stuff that he did for that album are they're tedious. They're definitely like, I would never prescribe to that, how he did that, but just like he did some weird shit and we got an amazing album.
It paid off big time. Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I can imagine having to hear, like, he would talk about how he'd like make a lead and he'd bring it to the sampler and he'd have to play it from the beginning every time. But I feel like that helped him a lot, because if there was something wrong in that lead somewhere, he would hear it, because he'd have to hear it from the start. You have to hear the whole thing. So it'd be cool to know if he like swapped some stuff, re-recorded it if he figured it wasn't good enough.
I'm sure. I sometimes, like, I wonder, like, is he really actually one of those evil geniuses, or is he someone that's trolling and has a production style that's like a lot easier than, because he like Aphex Twin, he's a mad scientist savant, and but he also likes to troll the shit out of people. So like he'll say totally absurd shit and just let it fly, and it takes someone being like, that's not he didn't make his own synthesizer, he didn't do this thing, this is what it's from. And then, but everyone believed him that he like designed hardware or whatever it is, his own synthesizers, which may be true because he's smart enough, I think, to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. I totally wouldn't. It sounds like something he would do.
Sounds like something out of a movie too. You know, like here's some techno babble.
Yeah,
and to most people, they just take it at face value.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the people who know be like, that makes absolutely no sense.
I'm gonna pull a Kyle. So, in American Psycho, when Bret Easton Ellis was writing it, he was doing research on fashion, and he was trying to understand the men's fashion and women's fashion of the time. And what he did is that if you didn't know anything about how people dressed, Patrick Bateman, the main character, was describing how people dressed, and they would look like clowns in real life. Like if they were actually wearing that attire, they would look absurd. But in the book, he's passing it off as if these people are really like well styled, but it goes to show that he himself is a dumbass, but also shows that the audience is a dumbass because most people just take it that he knows what he's talking about and he has no idea what he's talking about.
But maybe it's also part of Patrick Bateman's character talking about these kind of things. If he really is a psychopath, then maybe he wouldn't know any better, and he is dressing like a clown.
You don't know.
It's multifaceted.
Oh my
God,
there. We're going into a deep well here. So
I need to watch American Psycho again now.
It gets more interesting when you read a lot about what Bret Easton Ellis did when he wrote it and all the stuff he did to purposely fuck with the audience, basically.
Oh yeah, I had no idea about that. I should there's a whole world in there.
Yeah, it's a satire. It's entirely a satire, and it's a dark comedy. And the movie plays up the humor aspect more because there were parts of the book that did make me laugh like out loud because it was such an absurd scene being painted, but it was played straight the entire time. Like there's nothing in that book that would make you think that this was a satire, this was something that was funny.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Because it plays it straight.
That's cool.
The whole time.
Yeah, I love stuff like that.
Watch it, read it. Yeah, it's a great
experience.
Do
live
both
it.
at the same time.
I still haven't watched Blade Runner. I really need to stop being lazy and watch that.
Wait, what? Like the original?
Yep, the original, not the new one. I'll have to watch that one next. But yeah. I'm bad about that. Like, I'll open up Netflix and it's like, there's Blade Runner. Oh, but there's Django Unchained. Let's watch that for the 8th time.
I don't blame you.
I've watched that so many times.
I mean, that's cool.
It's like it's not. I don't know if it's like a comfort thing or like I know what's in this. I don't have to do any mind power, exert any mind power. I know what I'm gonna get. I totally wanna. It's weird how I make this type of music, and some people might compare it to like the Blade Runner Vangelis stuff, but never heard it.
That's good. That's cool. You arrived at that accidentally.
Yeah, I hope so. To an extent.
Pure osmosis, cultural osmosis, not through the direct feeding from the source. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I really like 80s music, but both like Prince, fucking love Prince. Like that was a legend that will never be able to experience anything close. And like what he did with 80s music, similar like Nine Inch Nails with doing it all by himself, is it was like, I don't know, just really cool for that was unheard of at the time. It was so much to do. But yeah, I've always liked 80s music, but I didn't like set out to be like, I want to sound like fucking Power Glove soundtracks or anything.
Yeah, I honestly, when I listen to your music, I don't get any overt 80s tropes. I think you use some of the tools, but that doesn't mean you're 80s. And I think a lot of people in the scene get that confused because they say, well, one person is synthwave, or another person is not synthwave because they might use synthesizers, but synth-based music has been around for 40 years or more, and it's easy to say, well, this new artist is using synthesizers, so they're synth, but that's not really fair or true. I think there's a level of attention if you're going to be synthwave versus someone that uses synthesis or synthesizers. You're not necessarily lumped in, because then almost everyone would be synthwave then, because if you look like churches, they are.
I've seen people claim that Com Truise is vaporwave, and that blew my mind. I'm like, do you know what vaporwave is? I know it's changed a bit, but I think as far as like the synthwave genre goes, I think a lot of it was like we in the present imposed a lot of what we think about 80s music onto 80s music. Like they didn't have like the sounds that we have now in those songs. Like it doesn't, it's like if you listen to like Autotron by Garth Brooks, I think, like that sounds fucking awesome, and it sounds like the 80s, but it's not. There was no way they could have made that.
Right, modern production techniques and sounds with a viewed through the lens of like retro kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's what I like about Com Truise, like this futurist. Like if the 80s never turned into the 90s, what would music sound like in the modern day? It's such a cool idea to me.
Yeah, I agree, and
I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's like other genres didn't come up and exist. It was
like if hip hop and all that stuff never took over, if like 90s rock and grunge and all that stuff didn't get off the ground, everyone, like the drum machines might have gotten better, and they might have gotten digital audio workstations and stuff, but they were still using like Linn drums and Oberheims and all that stuff. What it would sound like, that's what Com Truise kind of is, I feel.
Yeah,
sounds like the future.
He is the future.
Definitely.
He is the future of tomorrow, of yesterday. He's the future of yesterday.
What?
Because he's retro, but he's the future.
I know.
The future of yesterday. Yeah, makes sense to me.
See,
I got your back.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate that about Seth, and I like that. I find him still exciting. I'm curious.
There's so much intentionality in his work that like you can't look past it.
Yeah, I'm curious what he's gonna do next. I hope it's like way different.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Like when Persuasion System came out, I was like, finally, he's getting into this really, like he is evolving, and it's changing so much. Like if you were to play In Decay and then In Decay 2, it'd be like, this is the same artist. It'd be crazy, but yeah, hopefully he'll feel free now that the narrative's over and all that stuff. Maybe he'll feel free to like just go wild with stuff, not care what people. This doesn't sound like what you made before.
He's probably gonna be trapped a little bit by that, but
I hope it's just hip hop beats.
It's just hip hop beats over ambient music.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, have you heard his airliner stuff?
I have not. No, I know about it.
It's amazing. It's really good. It's like Boards of Canada with like hip hop. More. They lean more into like it's like modern Boards of Canada, I guess. Well, not that they're old, but relatively. Like if the Boards of Canada made music today, I feel like that's kind of what Airliner stuff.
Airliner's pre Com Truise, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what he had two projects before Com Truise proper, and then I know that he did like hip hop production at some point in time, early in his career.
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, that stuff. I feel like the Com Truise stuff took precedence, and if it hadn't, or if like maybe like now that he's done for the most part, if he goes back to that, there's a lot of room for that because like lo-fi hip hop, all that stuff kind of got popular. Like the lo-fi beats, chill, study 2 stuff. He could like it would be a lot of people would like it. It's really accessible.
Kyle, did you hear Doja Cat's rap over Broken Date?
No.
So
I have.
She takes it basically wholesale, doesn't really do anything to the song, and just raps over it. And then it was released as a bootleg.
Yeah, the Suicide Boys did something similar, but I like how theirs sounds better. Yeah, that really bugged me because I was like, man, this is a producer I really like. I don't like that. Because like, I don't want to like shit on their art or whatever, but the way people don't give credit all the time kind of sucks. Like, if you're just gonna rap over it, then you at least ask first.
He
Gotta
said
do
he
is
knew,
ask.
he said he knew about it,
Yeah.
and that she had talked to him before it got released, and then it was just leaked, and he was fine with
Oh.
it because he said that that song ended up getting a lot of like new interest in it 10 years
Yeah.
after it came out, that it kind of revitalized that album a lot. So he's like, well, whatever, I'm getting Spotify streams off of it now, so
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how they go about it, though. Like, a lot of people, like, I think Aphex Twins track, April 14th, got Kanye West sampled it or something, but they didn't ask. And,
oh yeah,
like, there's a difference between sampling, and there's a difference between playing the record and rapping over it. I don't know.
for sure, for sure. And I think Warp has defended and has sued most of the people that have tried to use that sample, because I think Saturday Night Live got in trouble for it too, and they
No.
sued to have it removed.
Yeah, I guess it's just a personal thing for me because, like I said earlier, about how I didn't want to use presets or like shortcuts. I was always real stringent on sampling. Like, I didn't, I just didn't even appreciate it as a concept. Like, I didn't think it just felt so illegal. Like, I didn't even, you know, never would take 4 seconds of a song, and I think I've done that now. Oh yeah, one of my songs is literally just another person's song sped up really fast, and I
Don't
don't know if I should say which one.
we?
Don't want to get in trouble.
So it's a vaporwave.
Yeah. Well,
Speed up,
it's
slow
sped up,
down.
and it's not just the song sped up real fast. Like a part of it, like it sounds like an arpeggiator or like a pad, but it's really just a song's intro sped up. It's a chord progression, like a pluck.
I'm gonna have to go explore that now.
I think I've given enough
I
information where
think
someone
I
could
know
find
what
it.
it is.
We'll just leave it be and let the listener figure that out. So you're talking about having a little bit of writer block earlier. You released a song yesterday, which would be Friday the or Saturday the
Saturday.
22nd. So was that a primer? Is that something you just wanted to get out there?
How much should I divulge? I don't know. I don't know if it would take away from the magic or make me look cheap. I don't know. The way, like I said about being impatient, I make songs absurdly fast, and I want to get them out there really fast. I think that. So no, I made that song yesterday. I made that song yesterday. Like, made it.
Damn.
I was just gonna say you made it yesterday and released it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, totally. Like, I made it. Using the word master is a bit
Loose.
little bit generous, but yeah, mastered it and put it out. I was just I got out my Volca FM that I was talking about earlier, and because that helps sometimes with writer's block. If I get a piece of hardware out that I can touch and fuck with, and you get the tangential feedback, then it helps. And I was putting something down, and it was so bad. It was just so uninspired. And then I saved the project as a copy and delete everything and just start over. And this melody just came to mind, or just wrote itself basically. And
There.
I was like, this is a really good melody. I'll put a bass on it, slap the drums in.
Big,
Yeah, I was happy with it.
bing, bada, boom. There it is, out the door.
Yeah. No, it's not a primer. No. The thing is, with an album, my last album, I set out intentionally with, because I've never, all my albums are like Pretty Hate Machine in the way that they're just a collection of songs. Never thought about flow. Maybe they have the saving grace of that they're made during the same time period, so everything's bouncing around in your head. You kind of have an idea, but I never made something that has a flow front to back. That sounds like a cohesive piece. And with Forgiven Reformat, I did try that. I actually went out of my way to try that, and I think I succeeded in some way. But I don't want to do another album because I'd like to do that, but a lot better.
All right.
Let me ask you this to go along with your album
Sure.
stuff. Your art direction.
Oh,
How
thank
did
you.
that come about?
You mean like the visual stuff, like the covers?
Yeah.
Oh, a necessity. Like, I learned Photoshop when I was really young, and there's nothing to write home about. It's very utilitarian. It's not. It's just I need something for this. Like literally yesterday, I was like, but I was uploading it to Bandcamp. I was like, oh, I need a fucking cover for this. So, open up Photoshop and just yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Not like it literally. I did notice though that lately that the crescent moon is like my logo, but that was totally an accident. It's just like I just like how it looks, and no, I just tinker with shit until it looks interesting.
Okay, because that's where I think you were kind of prodding at is there a on purpose motif that you consistently use? Like the crescent moon shows up, it's again sort of your logo. So
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's also in the shape of a D. Like you could make that into like a D and make my name out of it or whatever. But no, they're like specifically, it's hard with electronic music because I think Aphex Twin says this too. Like you can't really, there's no lyrics. There's not really much meaning. I mean, I've written songs or made songs that do evoke a feeling I'm having, not like a a more complex feeling about the world or life or whatever my life. Not just I'm sad, I'm happy. That's actually kind of difficult just to make something that sounds good. That's that simple. Like, um, but no, there's not usually. My most favorite thing is just making songs that fit. I usually come up with song titles before I come up with songs, and so I don't know. I have a weird thing about it where song titles just have a big impact on me. And if I can make something that sounds like the title, that's I kind of succeed. If it sounds cool going along, like if I can read the text of the title and hear that song playing and it sounds like it's a cool experience, then sure. I know that makes me weird, but
No, I like that angle.
yeah,
That and the art thing too. Like
yeah,
here it is. It was something that I needed, and it turns out to be something that's really cool. And it wasn't this
yeah.
big weird story.
right.
No,
It's not
that's
convoluted at
definitely
all.
where me and Seth differ for sure. I don't have like a. I do love that idea of like a movie inside his head, and he's like he's scoring it as he goes. Like that is such a cool idea, but it doesn't really translate that well to the listener. It's so like literally, there's no way for anyone to infer exactly. Which I mean, that's art in general. I can't tell. I can't listen to the song and be like, "This is what they were saying. This is what they meant by it objectively. Like this is totally what they."
This
You know,
character is walking down the hallway and they're really scared right now, and it's at
yeah,
this
it's not
point in
gonna
the
happen.
song. Uh,
I could tell that from this 4/4 beat. I could tell totally.
yeah, I think with like Seth it's interesting because I think even he himself now challenges that idea, where
Yeah,
because what I liked was the compare and contrast from what he used to say about the album to what he says now, which is it was just me in the moment, and that's where I was in the headspace, and that's just what it was. I
yeah,
created the story around it to help me kind of get it out there and talk about it, but in reality, it was just a reflection of what I was going through, and there's not really more to it than
oh
that.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think he's realized that now. But yeah, I don't have any. No, there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. So that does make it more difficult to write like the album, like an actual album that has cohesion, because that tool would help totally. Like you have a story that has beats, and you can score to that. But no, I just try to make stuff like I try to at least make the logo this time. I tried to make it at least kind of look like how the song would sound. I don't know. That's up to the person listening, I guess, though.
That's perfect. That's how you need it to be.
Again, I like it. If I was
Yeah.
a person of any talent whatsoever, and I was able to make music, I would probably say like, "This sounds like a really cool title. Like, this sounds fucking sweet. Now, time to make a song that goes along with it." So
Yeah,
I
stuff
appreciate
just
that.
comes in my head, and I'm like, man, that would be such a cool song title. And then like that, you think usually it's the other way around. I mean, when I first started, I had a lot of difficulty coming up with titles, so my brain I rewired it, or through necessity to start coming up with titles better. And like you'll hear something in a video or a movie or something, it's like that sounds fucking cool. Wouldn't that be cool to be a song title or something? And then so it's the other way around where I need to have music that goes with it instead of the other way.
It works. It's interesting how people their process and what that is. And some people, it's extremely complex and convoluted, and other people, it's very straightforward. There's no wrong way at the end of the
No,
day.
not at all.
I think, like, again, Initiates is a hot album. And really all your music is. So it doesn't matter the secret to how you made it. It's still that it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean there are some songs where it's like Hurt, for example. I fucking love Hotline Miami, and I wanted basically like a song that would be playing in Hotline Miami, and you wouldn't like it would fit. And I think that one fits pretty well, but you know,
I can agree with that.
The song
If
is
only I
also
was
really hot.
Having played both
Well,
the games, I can
if
see
only
that.
I was a little bit sooner on that release, I could have actually made it into the game. But yeah,
So what's your vision or goal, or what are you trying to do with Demin now? I mean, you're not actively making a record. You might accidentally make one. For all we
Yeah.
know, next week we could have a new release.
that is actually possible. Yeah, sad to say that is actually possible. There's been times where I'm telling somebody, "Hey, don't expect anything down the pipes," I'm just not. I don't have anything coming. And then the next day, I put something out, and it's like, oh, I feel like a douchebag for telling them. It just feels weird, like I'm lying to them. I'm not lying. It's just I have weird bursts of creativity, and if I could channel it out to last for a long time, it would take to make an album. I would. I would like to. I feel like this. I do kind of feel like this is as far as I'm gonna get. I mean, if I were to put a lot of effort into this, I could probably make it into a thing I could live off of. I don't know. Um, Ideally, I would like to do what I was saying is make an album that I'd be happy putting on vinyl. Make an album that sounds like an album. All the songs go together. They sound nice. There's no filler, nothing like that. And yeah, I guess I'm just never happy with what I've made in the end. I mean, I can look back. After so many years, I've looked back and I can sit today and say, I am proud of that. I know it might just be a Com Truise ripoff or whatever, but I'm proud of what I've made. But I'd like to end it with something that's like I'm super proud of, I guess.
If you got to that point, would it be the end? Would you be like, "This is it. I'm done"?
Maybe I don't really.
'Cause this
Music's
is
kind of the only thing I got good at and stuck with. Like I didn't. I don't have a. For a long time, I didn't have a hobby that was like that would last. I'd always get into something and then drop it, get bored of it, whatever. But music, for some weird reason, just stuck around. I didn't have a problem sitting there for hours making a shitty loop or sometimes a song or just keep trying. It didn't really bother me, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I were to keep making music under this name, it'd have to. I've put out a lot in a short time span, relatively speaking. It would have to like, I don't know if anyone would really care, you know?
I don't know that that's true, but hopefully there's more.
That's it. Out of all the people that we've talked to, nobody's ever talked about like any type of end.
Right.
And now I'm really
Yeah.
fucking bummed out.
No, I didn't mean to bum anybody out. It's just like with the writer's block, it's been hard. It's a miracle I got that track out yesterday. Like I said, it is just an absolute miracle. Like looking down the pipe and seeing seeing the prospect of making an album is just so daunting. I don't know, and I don't want to sit here and say, hey, don't get your hopes up. You don't expect anything, because there is a chance that it might happen. It's just I've kind of been enjoying the break in a way, but it's not really of my own volition. And I would just sit down, and it was just so unmotivating. It was so uninspiring. Nothing would. I mean, at this moment, I do have a folder. I have an album name, of course. I've got the name first. That I do want to see the light of day. I really do. There's some really good tracks in there, I think, but they're at the stage now. They're like 30 seconds. They're loops. So
They're doodles.
taking those,
They're musical doodles.
yeah, they're doodles, but they're good though, in my opinion. Like they sound like I can imagine them as a full track, but I can't actually imagine how to make them into a full track. So
I would like you to be full track. I have no idea how to get there.
yeah,
That's how I'm going through life. Like, how do I make this an actual thing? I have no idea how to get there.
How do I make my life look more like a life?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how it is with music. I don't know. I've always had a problem with like, um, my songs are a lot of my songs are short, and because I feel like making them longer would be artificial, and it wouldn't be. It'd be a lot of copy pasting or like forcing it because you can't really make like depending on how the song starts and the chorus or the structure and everything. It's not gonna. You'd have to really try hard to. I don't know if I'm just complaining about work, but like you have to try hard to make it interesting if it's going to last that long. Otherwise, it's really repetitive. So,
I
but personally,
I was gonna
what's
say
that?
I think I know exactly what you're trying to say. It is a do what you want to do, don't do what you don't want to do kind of thing. So if like the song ends up being short and that's what you want to do, you shouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm wrestling with right now. I'm like, I should just be happy with like how I look at it because I don't want a song to go on longer than it needs. It's kind of like a series. It's like Simpsons being 40 seasons or whatever. It's like just die already, like
Yes, please.
or whatever, whatever it's gone on too long. I don't like to, yeah, it's like a cheapness thing. If the song's 2 minutes, 30 seconds, but it's a really fucking cool, like the time span of like 40 seconds of the chorus is so good. You want to keep listening to it over and over again. Cause I've had songs that I like from people where they're really short, but they're so fucking good that you're just like, man, I want to hear this constantly. And as long as you get a loop like that, you're set. As long as you have a loop that you don't want to stop, like you don't want to stop looping in Ableton, like you pretty much have a song, in my opinion, for me.
It's interesting that you say that because I've definitely had it where I've listened to a song that's short and then heard it in extended version of that song and like, you know what, I like the shorter version better.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because it's like, it's just sometimes it just doesn't seem like it needs that much. It's like kind of fluff. Like I said, it's you're artificially making it out to be something it's not. It does what it needs to do. It builds up. It has a release. It does all it needs to say. There's no point to loop it. Like you just be copy pasting, and it gets to the point where it's like, what can I add at this like second chorus or final chorus to make it worth the listener's time? And I feel like you can't be having that mindset because that conflicts with how you make stuff sonically. You have a limited amount of room. You can't squash. I mean, you can. I have done that before. I'm guilty of that, but I feel like you're actually damaging the process if you try to do that too much.
I hear that. I hear that.
I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, this is all. I thank you for giving this insight because I find it really, really interesting. You peek it into your mind a bit and hearing you talk about how you write songs and sort of where the limit is for yourself. And I just, yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. And now that you say that, like, I was thinking as you were talking about that, it's like, man, these people that could, like, Tool, how could Tool make a 12-minute song?
I know, right? Yeah, that's I feel like a lot of those songs though, some of the long songs like who's some artists that made some really like there's artists like it wasn't like early metal was known for like having really long. There's that there's some new artists today that do that, but they evolve so much that like some of King Crimson stuff they're not that long. Maybe Grateful Dead, there's one. Like they evolve so much at the end that if you were to take 5 seconds at the end and play it, and then take 5 seconds of like the beginning, they're not alike. Like they're different melodies altogether sometimes because if you want it to not be boring, then yeah, you have to put that work in, and basically you're making like a symphony at that point.
Right, right. And that's really kind of what comes to mind is I was thinking, like, as you're talking about, like, song progressions and structures of songs, it's like, man, you really got to put a lot of, if you want to keep something that engages someone, there's a lot of thought that goes into musical movement and theory and making it, because otherwise how do you prevent yourself from just putting something on loop for 3 minutes or 5 minutes?
Yeah, I just get embarrassed if I'm like this. If I'm making a song and it relies so heavily, like even with the song I put out yesterday, I feel like maybe I could have cut down on the repetition, but I'm not like every listener. Some listeners might like because I'll listen to a song and realize that oh, it is looping for 4 bars, and as long as you cut it off there, as long as it's not 8 bars, 16 bars of looping, as long as you have some break, some something in the middle between those two loops, it does a lot. Like, because your memory span on when listening to music isn't that great. Like, because there's so much going on with music, it's pretty complicated. That how many noises are happening at the same time that
Mhm.
your brain can't really keep up. I mean, it can try, but you're not gonna remember like, oh yeah, that hi hat. I remember that hi hat. So yeah,
Never
yeah. I just
once has that been a word that I've ever said. Oh man, that hi
yeah.
hat.
The hi hat, that was in 1 minute 3 seconds, and it was repeated at 3 minutes 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's hard to at least for me when I'm in like this making the song, it's hard to step out. It took me a long time to learn how to step out of the shoes of my own shoes and like think how other people are going to perceive it. And comments like that's something that's helped so much. People sending me messages and like just general comments on public channels like YouTube and stuff helps you realize that so much. Because if you're in isolation, like not seeing how people react to it, you wouldn't know. You would think that like all those fears you're having is what everyone's experiencing, but not the case all the time.
Do you have an example of a comment someone made? Now I'm curious
Right.
as
I
to
mean,
that.
in general, just when the people like the song, like if they like it that much, like people, like for instance, people saying like this is the best shit ever, and this is how does he do it? He's so good at it. It's like I would have thought that myself in the shoes making it because of the reasons I listed earlier. Like I would have said this is too loopy, you know, um, or too it's too repetitive, not loopy. Loopy is a different word. Um, yeah, they're not going to think that for the most part. It's just like it's a weird anxiety you have to remove yourself from, and that's not easy when you're making the song.
I mean, has there been negative comments as well? Because I would say one thing: if I were a person of any talent and I was putting something out, like one negative comment would just that would gut me. And I would know
Funnily
it'd be from
enough,
like just a random person who it wouldn't matter, but that would really get to me.
um, funnily enough, I think almost to a detriment, there has been very few. At the very well, I mean, it depends on. You got to separate it by constructive and non-constructive comments. Like overall, it's almost like I said, it's been bad for me because no one's ever said this is a little, this is bad. Like this doesn't sound good or whatever. It's been not that I'm like tooting my own horn or anything, but it's mostly positive. I don't really have any control over it. That's just what people say. So um, the only bad comments this would be getting would be rehashing this is like people very very rudely comparing me to someone else and like accusing me of theft or like you
Mm-hmm.
know or accusing me of just leeching off somebody. But no, sometimes I would not actually wish like people would give me don't do it now, don't go out and do it now. But it would have been nice early on to get more constructive. But maybe I'm doing something right. Maybe I'm just that good. I don't want to say that myself, but
I mean, I would say that you're doing something right, and I have no criticisms.
Yeah, and you hate everything. So,
I do, yeah, I do hate
wow, I
everything.
guess
yeah.
that's a good watermarker then. Yeah.
Yeah, really honestly, that's your high crest mark. If Kyle likes it, then you know you're probably good.
All right, then I'll just I can do no wrong. Then I'll just make whatever I want and put
See?
it out, and
There you go, done.
yeah. But no, no negative comments for the most part. I mean, uh, I never did the thing. I used to, like I said, I used to have friends that were fellow producers that would I could show them stuff, but even back then, I don't think it would be that useful even now because I mean, they're only going to tell you like what you already know for the most part, and like anything that would be insightful is not going to help because they're different. Like their musical style anyway would be different. So if you're doing a collaboration, then that makes sense because you'll come to a middle ground. You'll contrast, compare and contrast, and take what's left in the middle, and make something together. Whereas if you're just trying to get feedback, it might not be as helpful.
Have you thought about doing collaborations?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of people I'd like to do some collabs with. I've done some before. Um, not all of them were great experiences.
I like to laugh before that.
I mean, one of them was a progressive house track where basically I added like a clap, a real clap, like a snare clap, and I think that was it. Like, they did all the work basically. Not that I wanted to do more, but they, I mean, they're not like a bad person or anything. They're not like some dick or anything, but it was just it didn't really work out. Another one, it never got off the track, never got off the ground. It just kind of died. But Yeah, I would like to. It would definitely be, it's a process, but I'd like to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing about collaboration because that's an entirely different side of music and creativity and what that brings out. And it's one thing when you work from your own head. It's another when you're riffing off another person, and it's another interesting thing when you talk like Hotel Pools could expound on it because he collaborates a lot with people. I think that takes kind of probably a pretty special.
It really gives me PTSD from like my college time. So it's like, okay, you're doing group work, and then it's just like, oh, who's gonna get fucked? It's like someone's not gonna do what they should, and they're gonna get the credit for it, regardless of if they contribute or not. And then it's just like trying to wrangle them into getting to work with you at a specific time, and this, that, and the other thing. Oh, I'm so glad I'm out of college.
Yeah, the planets kind of have to align in some cases. Like you have to have the right person that you can mesh with well, and you have to both have an understanding about what you want to accomplish, and that's not a guarantee. It's like real life relationships. Like you're not compatible with some people. That's just how it is. You have to find out. And so, I would like in collabing, like you said, with creativity, it would be such a good way to help alleviate writer's block because it would open up a whole world of. Like you'd send them something. How about this? Like you should totally do this to it. It would sound way cooler. It's like why didn't I think of that? It'd be stuff like that.
You hear that, folks?
A fresh pair of ears.
Demin is down for collaboration. Reach out to this guy.
Yeah,
Can probably make that work.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Well, I really appreciate your time, and it's been really fun. This is our first show back in quite a while, so
I also feel like we really cracked a code, solved the mystery.
yeah,
Just being able to get a hold of you.
yeah. I feel really accomplished after this. I feel really good about
So
myself.
we could finally answer it. I'm not Seth Haley, sadly. But
No, but
No, good.
that's good.
no, yeah, it's good.
That's good stuff. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with
thanks
us.
for having me.
It was fun. Kyle,
It was really fun. Yeah.
what do you got to say?
So it has been a while since we've done a show, and I'm really glad that this is the one we could do to get back into things.
Oh yeah.
It's an honor.
So
Thank you.
so thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Totally.
Well, I think that's it. Until next time, this is Eric.
And this is Kyle.
Thank you, Demin, for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.